Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's another episode of The Crigler Show. I am, of course, your host, Adam Crigler. Thanks for joining in. Today, I have a wonderful surprise. Now, this is an actual whistleblower, someone that has been featured on Project Veritas, and actually, even the Senate has used his information to call out big tech. It is my pleasure to introduce Zach Vorhies. Thank you for joining me, Zach. How are you doing
A-
today?
Adam, thank you for
Yep.
having me on your show. Big fan.
Definitely. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm a big fan of yours. I've known about you for a little while now, as I really wasn't paying attention much to the political realm, to the realm outside of my own personal life before 2020. And I think a lot of people have been waking up in 2020 and realizing the situation that we're in now. And you, in fact, before 2020, back in 2019, went to Project Veritas to help expose Google because you worked there for 8.5 years, I believe, right?
hmm
And you saw some stuff. I mean, why don't you give us a little bit of your Google history? Uh,
Yeah, so Google was the best company I've ever worked for.
okay.
And they had this like ethos of kind of a libertarian, digital libertarianism. It's kind of like, hey, let everyone do what they want to do, but let's not get government involved at all. And we're just trying to get everyone to express themselves. And hey, if that's disruptive, then that's just the price of progress. And I was like, "All right, sign me on."
Yeah, I like that. Sounds
And
good.
they lived up to that all the way up until 2016 when Donald Trump won the election, and then they kind of just they're like, "Well, fake news," and they start talking about the threat of fake news and how it's used in elections, and they need to start protecting elections. I was just like, "But wait a minute, doesn't that just kind of go against your entire ethos that you stated?
Right.
That's still their mission statement." And yeah, they decided that they were going to turn to the dark side and go a little bit evil and start getting into the manipulation of the internet. And in 2019, it was still kind of fringe that Google would basically do more or less a coup.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like at this point in 2021, it's very clear at this point that government officials, it's not just Alex Jones anymore, it's not just Donald Trump, it's everyone
Yep.
is now in danger of getting banned. And it's just like someone should go tell the CEO of YouTube, like, hey, Donald Trump's out of office, why are you still banning everyone?
Right.
What's the danger here?
I mean, and it's not just about Trump too. It's anything. Really. If you go against their narrative, they're like, you're gone. Or manipulate the algorithms. So I mean, I've been talking algorithms for a while, and until I haven't read your book, but I've seen enough of the information that you put out to know that it's very real that they manipulate the algorithms, and it's um, I mean, it's
They
a
literally
machine.
rewrote their news algorithm in order to target Trump, and they did
Wow.
it when he was having his fight with Comey, which is some of the documents that I've, released, which
Is that
shows.
is that this here? Is this thing here the real hive mind scoring?
Yeah, it's part of that slide deck, I believe.
Okay.
And what they're describing in this slide deck is how to take different stories of the same event and glom them together into a super mega story so
Okay.
that it goes to the top of the rankings. And right
Mm,
now, what you see right here is a scoring mechanism to figure out when when a signal is being detected and how that signal is being calculated.
okay. And then actually, the next slide here is when he fired Comey.
hmm
So yeah, active for 8 days, right? I remember you explaining this, and it's essentially maintaining. It's almost like maintaining the anger, like the emotional trigger for anger. You have to keep reminding yourself why you're angry because anger doesn't last. It's the quickest to fade. Um, so it's almost like they're using that kind of that's it's the same kind of a thing. They have to keep reminding people why to be angry at Trump, why to well, obviously, I'm putting them two and two together here, but do you see what I mean? They have to keep reminding people why Trump is bad, that he fired Comey, and they're making an algorithm about that to keep bringing up that same stuff over and over and over
I
again.
mean, they have to, right? Like, look what they did in from 2016 to 2020.
Oh,
They imploded the entire economy. They've, been stripping away free rights that we've had and enjoyed.
true.
Right now we've essentially backdoored the Chinese communist system's social credit score.
Yeah.
I, people are getting banned off of PayPal and Venmo, and they're starting to shut down these financial services to people that PayPal disagrees with politically.
Yep.
And it's just a like, it's funny if I were to have gone back into 2015 and be like, hey, see all those like separate different entities that you think are independent companies in a free marketplace? They're actually all working together.
Yep.
And when the perfect time comes, they're actually all going to join together and act in like as if they were one single Voltron, right? I mean, think about that. It's like, think about that. Google, Facebook, Twitter, they're all going to come together and form like a giant Voltron like robot
Yeah.
that's going to take over the world. And that's basically kind of like what's happened.
Yeah, we're there right now. We're seeing it.
We're seeing it right now.
Yeah,
By the way,
it's
we're not
crazy.
live on YouTube. Am I going to get you in trouble
Yeah.
with this?
We are live on YouTube.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Uh-oh.
hey, you know what? There's
What?
certain things that I think are very important to get out there. I mean, I've gotten strikes on my channel before. But they're talking about specific things, a certain pandemic that was going around, and that's the only time I've gotten in trouble. I mean, I think this is like, what are they going to do? They're going to strike me for this? It's like it's just going to prove that we are right, that they are censoring people that are talking about actual stuff. Like you, you were working there. These are actual documents that you had from their systems. So it's not like you're making up stuff, right? You actually worked there. You actually liked Google. You're from what I gather, you're almost bummed that they decided to, you know what, we got to just step it up and start manipulating stuff and manipulating the way that people think, what people see. It's like it's sad when you said it's like their mission, their ethos was libertarian, which I'm finding out more and more as I get more and more political in my life, that I'm rather libertarian myself. You do you, I'm going to do me. Don't mess with what I do, and I'm not going to mess with what you do. Like, we should all be free to do that and not be told what to think. And so it's on me. I
I'm in that category as well. Like when the government's corrupt, it's libertarianism, leave me alone. Um, you
Yeah,
know, try to reduce the size of government. If the government was actually really good and represented the people, I would be, you could probably be more of a socialist. It's
true.
all about like how well that government functions. And the problem right
Right.
now is that, the powers that be don't like the United States constitutional system. They don't like how decentralized it is, how the
Yep.
power is put at the local level,
Yep.
and they want it all centralized because they want to take that over.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
that's the
exactly.
reason why we have all the immigrants flooding in. I mean, people are like, why is the left doing that? Like, don't they understand that people will see that and wake up? It's like, yeah, they don't care, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to destabilize the United States.
Yep.
And they're doing that on multiple fronts. One of them is by, running in endless hordes of, military age men from God knows where into the country.
Yep.
Another way is,
Printing money
by
nonstop.
printing money. Another way is by having a botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Another way is by bombing people that are innocent with drone strikes, which is a crime against humanity.
Yep.
And all of these things together, like, get people so that they turn against institutions, and all the things that keep a society stable are just, knocked down one after the other. Now it's getting at the core. Like, we can't even trust our election systems anymore.
Yeah.
Every centralized thing has now been kind of shown to be a fraud, and everything has been delegitimized. And where does this all end up? Well, this
Right.
ends up in a revolution, because in order to do a revolution, the foundation of the system has to crack and buckle. And they're working really hard in overtime to make sure that it's as weak as possible, so that when the crisis comes and just a little bit of pressure is applied, then
Yeah.
the whole country goes into crisis by these, civil rights, these fake civil rights organizations like Open
Yeah.
Societies Foundations, and the whole thing
ACLU.
collapses on itself, and they're able to put in a new system. And a lot of people think that it's a communist system, but my thesis is that it's actually not. It's actually a technocracy,
Okay.
and it's a different
Explain
system
that.
altogether. A technocracy is a form of central planning, which is done by the software engineers.
Okay.
And essentially, as these things get so complicated, you're basically going to have a few people that, are heavily integrated with machines and computers. And they're going to be the ones that essentially use science in order and engineering in order to manage the entire state of the economy. And they're going to divvy up goods and resources and allow the people to rent them out. And the reason why they're going to do this is because manufacturing is going to go through the freaking roof with the fourth industrial revolution.
Is
The
that with
robots,
AI and whatnot?
the
It
AI, the
Yep.
5G, the shrinkage of really powerful CPUs into
Yeah.
small spaces that are power efficient. It's going to power this entire AI economy. And so the question is, well, what do you do about all this useless human labor and intellectual capacity, which will make up a very small minority of the total available labor and intellectual pools? And
Right.
the answer is that, well, what exactly is it that humans need? Do they really need the total sum output of their economies, or are they basically looking at each other on social media all day and going out and having fun at a party? Well, it's basically that, and they don't need the total sum output of the economy to do that, right?
Yeah.
They need some transportation, they need the ability to use electricity and an internet connection, and that's pretty much it. They can be delivered
Food.
everything, on a day-to-day basis. And so
True.
what I think is happening right now is that this technocracy sees that the value of human labor is essentially approaching zero. Even though we think that we're autonomous, I think the oligarchs and the elites believe that we're basically their property, their indentured servants. And now that they know how to run things better than we do, they're just going to implode the whole thing so that they can run it better from their citadels lined with computer screens from a centrally planned location. So, welcome, smart cities. You'll own nothing but be happy.
Yep.
And what we got to do is we got to figure out what the freedom of expression and sovereignty looks like in this new system, and that's what we got to keep alive, is the power of speech. And the power of speech has never been expressed more than it is right now, and that's the reason why they have to censor us and people like you, Adam, is because you guys really are changing the world.
Thank you. But you're right. I mean, we are taking the power away from the mainstream narrative that they really need everyone to mindlessly go along with, and you see it out there. It's working. There's people out there that are openly. I mean, I don't like talking about the vaccines, but these people are out there actually celebrating when people who are unvaccinated die. They're reporting on that instead of reporting on the people that actually recover and get better. Which there are also a lot. There's more of those stories than there are of the people that are dying, and there's people that die from um, not from. Let me. I got to be careful with my words here. There are people who are still dying that have been vaccinated. Not saying that it's anything's fault, because YouTube's very particular about that subject specifically. Note: I am not a doctor, and I'm not giving any medical advice. But the what we're seeing though is the people that are listening to the news and what they're saying, and they don't even it's not even a logical argument anymore. They're just blindly going along with what they're told and screeching at the top of their lungs, and it almost feels like they would welcome a like you said, like they look at us like we're their property, right? They
Mhm.
think that we are below them, that we're just indentured servants to be told what to do. And these people out there it's almost as if they would welcome that. Like, yeah, you know what, whatever. Just but this is the problem though. They think that it's going to be some utopia, that they're going to be able to scroll all day on their phones and go have their Starbucks and, you know, play video games all day and not have anything to do. Like, they're not going to do anything. But I don't think that's going to be the reality of the situation. You know, these people, but, but then you think we don't really know what this new AI robotic world that's vastly approaching. I mean, Elon Musk has been warning about AI. He's like, it's too late. I mean, I tried warning you guys for a long time. Are they going to take over? I don't know. But is everything going to be automated so that human labor is not going to be needed in all fronts, from making food to bringing food to where we are at, making all the products, making everything, right? I mean, what are humans gonna do with their time, right? Do art, music? I don't know.
I mean, it's basically we'll have the intellectual capacity of a 2-year-old in comparison to this, godlike AI system that's pretty.
It's true.
It's basically coming whether we want it to or not.
Right.
And there's also a very other interesting aspect which no one in the Western press seems to be covering at all, which is artificial life. I'm talking about
Good point.
3D printing E. coli DNA and then inserting it into a bacteria, and then that bacteria becomes, essentially an E. coli.
Yeah.
And what they can do is they can print out these genes now, um, for any arbitrary sequence, and they can put them into these artificial life systems, and boom, now all of a sudden you've got a new bacteria that has never been seen before.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying and it's awesome and
It's
it's
terrifying.
exciting all at the same time, because essentially what we can do now is we can think about like fake food. Like, for
Yeah.
example, we could solve the entire food problem if we grow food from yeast. I mean, this is what the Beyond Burger is right now. It's essentially modified yeast that you would use to brew beer, and
Yeah.
instead they've modified the genes so that they produce heme and some of the proteins and stuff. And now you can concentrate that into a patty, and it tastes like meat, right?
Right.
Like, these are this is kind of like the future of this, which is great if you want to be a vegetarian, have an artificial source of food, and you don't want to have an impact on the planet. Like, eventually, one day we could have an entire food system for the majority of the planet be essentially recycled energy, like energy generated from a nuclear plant that goes and synthesizes a foodstuff that then gets put into a yeast batch that then we then eat. And
Yeah.
and I know that sounds gross, but it's
No,
better
I
than
mean,
eating bugs.
I actually I like Beyond Burger. I mean, I happen to be vegan myself. So I mean, that's not really the point. I mean, I love space, and I like to think about space travel because I do feel like that's one of those things that we could use manpower for, like
Hmm.
exploring space. Like, we can go in all directions, and I like to think about how that's possible. And food is one of those things. We can't have livestock on a spacecraft, but we can't. They've grown wheat, so we know that we can make wheat gluten from the wheat and then turn that and use different um, whatever to grow what we need to make Beyond Burgers essentially in space. So it's possible to do that. And I think that might actually be implemented as soon as we get to the point where we're going to Mars and beyond, which I
Hmm.
think is vastly coming. So
And I think
the,
that with the coming revolution, we're also going to have, with the technology revolution, I think that we're also going to have a solution to a lot of the different ills that we have.
yeah,
Like right now, it's plastics being dumped into the ocean. That's
right,
really not necessary at all. Like, we could have all the garbage that you see right now be burned, and then the ash gets filtered through a set of chemical filters, and
yeah,
then you're just basically recycling the ash into its constituent components, and then that's made into the next product. And the only thing missing from that cycle is unlimited energy.
true,
And one of the things I think that's happening with this green revolution is um, all of the nuclear tech that's been sort of sabotaged by political interests,
truth, yeah,
mainly this petrodollar, right? Like, the reason why we don't have abundant nuclear energy is not because we don't have the technology, it's because of the petrodollar. Our
Yep.
currency is literally based on the fossil fuel economy. And
It's
so one of the
craziness.
things that you see with this, Green New Deal and all this other stuff is that they're talking about the ending of this fossil fuel. And I think what it is it's a cover for one, sort of the coup that they're doing, and two, when they formally end the fossil fuel, they're basically gonna green light a whole bunch of these nuclear facilities, and the media is all of a sudden not going to have a problem with
Yep.
these nuclear facilities coming out. And I already starting to see the narrative kind of point in that direction.
Mhm.
And what's really and the thing that they got to pull off is people are going to sit around at home and say, well, wait a minute, how come we haven't been using nuclear for a very long time?
Mhm.
And I think but every single time I'm like, oh, well, the normies back home, they won't, this is the point they'll wake up. They never do they? Like,
No.
you know,
I felt that
um,
a lot in the past year.
I know, right? Like this time it's going to be like the fact that ivermectin is being like suppressed or something.
Mhm.
And no, they don't wake up from it. So I don't
No.
know. I feel like some of my leftist friends are actually starting to wake up about
Well,
like a
that's
lot of
nice.
things. They're like, oh wow, this stuff really is scary. Wow, why is the left acting like they're a bunch of fascists
Yep.
uh, and authoritarians? And I was like, yeah, I called it.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I'm right. But I want to talk about censorship. I want to talk about the
Yeah.
one of their projects, which is the enemy of humanity, which is, and it's 3 words. It's machine learning fairness.
Yeah. Explain
Mach-
that to us.
yeah, machine learning fairness is the reason why I blew the whistle on Google, because after the 2016 election,
Yeah.
um, Google was like, "Oh, we got to use machine learning to filter the fake news." And so I asked myself,
Fake
well,
fake news?
what's this fake news? Like, who defines what is fake news? Who defines what
Right.
is real and what's not real? And so I started digging in. And as a full time employee, like, say, if I did not work on the fake news team, I worked on the YouTube team,
Yeah.
but I had access to the documents. So I just went in and said, what's the fake news team doing? And I found a document. It was a design document listing out a whole bunch of stuff. Google loves to write everything down.
Okay.
And in that document, they had like a bunch of examples, like 5 examples of fake news. And wouldn't you know it, 4 out of the 5 examples that they had were of Hillary Clinton.
Oh, goodness.
And it was about like, oh, Hillary Clinton and some FBI guy, like, the guy drops dead, or she's running weapons through Benghazi to ISIS. And I was like, wait a minute, is this fake news or is this real news? Because I seem to
Right.
remember hearing something about this. And so I started doing, my research on Hillary Clinton. I was like, holy crap, there's a lot of there with this
Yeah.
Clinton body count. And
Mhm.
I was like this classical liberal sort of person that was like, sort of like apathetic. And so I was like, oh man, maybe there's like something there. And I started going deeper into this Benghazi stuff. And I was like, oh my God, she actually did like run weapons through Benghazi to arm ISIS to destabilize Syria. And the the whitewashed version of that was that she had an email scandal. Yeah, the emails were about her running weapons to arm a freedom fighting force that was to destabilize one of the countries that didn't want to play ball with the New World Order, which was
Yep.
Syria. So they were taking it down. And that was the email scandal. She didn't want those emails to be known. And so she used her own private email server so that they couldn't be subpoenaed by government records request.
Boom.
And so I started becoming this expert. I was like, oh my God, I think that Google might not actually be trying to filter fake news. What if they're trying to put their fingers on the scale
What if?
of your news internet searches? And I went,
Mhm.
huh. Well, if that's true, then I'm going to be able to find more stuff. And if there's something that is going to say that this is fake news by policy, then there needs to be something that's going to classify and then remove the fake news that they allege exists everywhere. And
Right.
so I started to look further in, and at first I thought it was Project Dragonfly. Like, you probably remember that you were hearing about this Project Dragonfly. Ooh, the spooky
I don't know this
Project
one.
Dragonfly from China. Yeah, I thought that was the search engine too. So I went looking for Project Dragonfly. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
Like, literally nothing there at Google talked about Dragonfly at all.
Okay.
But then when I found this thing called machine learning fairness, I was like, oh, this has got to be it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the dragonfly, that's like almost like an insect of, prey. Like it can eat small birds. Like it's so ferocious. But machine learning fairness, how could you be against that? In fact, if you're against that, then you're against fairness. And, you
You should
must be
love
a
it when they
hateful
do that.
bigot. What's that?
I said, "Don't you love it when they do that?" That's
I
that's
know.
how it works.
And
Patriot Act,
Patriot
National
Act, right?
Defense Act. Yeah, exactly. Please continue though. Yeah.
And so as soon as I saw machine learning fairness, I was like, oh, that's a great name. They've market tested this thing. So I went in and sure enough, there was this machine learning fairness, and they had a document in the mix there about how about how the process team was laying down the plan for upper and middle management to adopt this machine learning fairness and apply it to all of its different services. And so, it was basically, I mean, essentially it's critical race theory blended with AI. And
Great. My
and
goodness.
and the machine learning is a type of AI that uses these artificial neural networks. It's almost kind of like an artificial brain, but simpler, and it's multi-leveled. And so you generate these classifiers by feeding it a bunch of data that has already been pre-assigned by humans.
Okay.
And then this AI system generates a classifier by trying to find like all the little patterns. So let me give you an example. Like, let's say that Google employees made a stack of like 1,000 articles that were fake news and another 1,000 articles that were labeled as not fake news, as like real news. And then they fed it through this algorithm, and then it would generate this classifier that could then be used on new input. And based on the patterns of what's labeled fake news and not, would be used to guide its decisions for any new input that you give it. And so this machine learning fairness was being used on news articles. It's being used on content that's being done on YouTube. Like YouTube, and you probably know this, but the YouTube algorithm will take the video that you upload, it will suck out the audio and then generate an AI transcription that lives alongside of the video. That transcript is then searched by the AI algorithms in order to find all the little naughty words that you're saying, or the topics, or the content that they don't like. And as soon as that thing trips, that video gets demonetized, or gets banned, or gets flagged for human review.
Yep. Well, I've
And when I
dealt with it
was
myself. I've
dealt
dealt
with
with
it
it
yourself.
many times actually. I get I've only gotten 2 strikes on my channel, but I've gotten a warning, and I've gotten plenty of this video has been flagged for being you can't monetize it at all. This one is I don't remember exactly what they say, but it's running at half monetization or whatever. Even though every time I check it, it's running ads on it, but I only get some less revenue or something because, I mean, let's face it, I call out Biden. I defend Trump. I talk about the irregularities, I guess, in the 2020 election. I'll just put it that way. I mean, I'm going to be talking about the audit that's coming out on Friday, and I'm sure they're not going to want me to talk about it. In fact, I'm grateful that we have over 1,000 people watching us right now because I half expected them to see the title of this video and be like, "Oh, we don't want let's put that down because we don't want anyone listening to this guy because your name's in the title. I know they know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they made it very clear that they're watching you. So
I mean, they called in a wellness check and had the police show up to try to
I
ask me
actually
a bunch of questions.
look at this, people. Check this out. This is them. This is him. Were you coming out of your house here?
Yeah, I'd given myself up after a tense, like 3-hour standoff with the police.
That's, I mean, a wellness check. Why? They did that. I just heard that they did that to that military officer who spoke out against the Afghanistan withdrawal, and I haven't heard of anything from him since that point. He said that he was going to be talking a lot more, and ever since that, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I mean, I haven't heard anything from him. But they did a wellness check to that he was like what is a wellness check? It's intimidation, hands down. That's what they were doing. They were trying to scare you into shutting up, right?
They wanted to get me in a psych ward. That's essentially what it's like. Oh, this guy's crazy. Don't listen to anything that he's saying.
Hmm.
And so I think that, I mean, here's why they called it in. It's because they were coming after me. They were threatening basically my entire livelihood by suing me into existence
Okay.
or out of existence. And so I thought that, okay, well, this is the first step. And after they drain my finances, maybe they'll off me as well, or they're just trying to, maybe they'll do it sooner rather than later. So I called up my pal, James O'Keefe, and I said, James, all the 950 pages that I gave you, you can disclose those to the public in the case of my untimely death. And just to drive the point home to YouTube, I tweeted it, which I'm going to show you right now in my book.
I saw
There it
that tweet.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead
And
man switch.
yeah, and I put a dead man switch, full public disclosure. And then boom, right at that point, that's when YouTube leapt into action. They called out the police and they sent them to the wrong address, which was
Really
a fake address that I had given them when I did my exit with them. Um, so that
smart. So
yeah,
you
so
knew that
that
this would happen.
I knew this was going to happen. Well, all warfare is based on deception. So,
True.
I put that disinfo in there and they ended up coming to the house, which was my friend's house. And then that friend of mine let me know that,
They're coming for you.
that, yeah, they're coming for me. And so I decided to try to wait it out. And, at first I was in denial that they were doing a stakeout. But then it became undeniable when there was one helicopter that was flying very close, and then it was joined by a second helicopter, and they were both flying overhead. And I was
Wow.
like crawling down on the ground, and I would look up, and there was like a helicopter like outside the window, like 50 feet away, just kind of hovering there. And I was
That's
like, oh, I
close.
hope they didn't. Yeah. And then I was like, I hope they didn't see me. And so then I just went into my room and then busted out my Nintendo DS and just started playing Katana Zero
Okay.
Hour or something. If you've ever played that game, it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's
Cool.
amazing. It was like the only thing that I trusted would get my mind off the fact that there was a stakeout
Yeah.
outside my house and two helicopters flying above my head. And so,
Mhm.
but then a few minutes later, a friend that decided to check up on me. The friend whose police went to his house first, he came and he saw that the cops had blocked off from 20th and Valencia all the way down, as it turns out, to 22nd and Valencia. And
Wow.
so then he came up and he blew the whole lid. He's just like, are you guys here for Zach? And they're like, who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm the guy that can get him out of his house.
Oh, are you
Thanks, Will.
serious?
Yeah, totally blew my cover. And if
Wow.
you hear the story from him, he thinks that he saved my life. He's convinced that he saved my life, but no, he totally blew my cover. And so I was like, okay, well, they know that I'm here now, so I got to give myself up, because if I don't give myself up, they're going to come up with some sort of excuse. They're going to come through the door, and then maybe something bad happens and a camera malfunctions, like what happened at the Las Vegas shooting, like 5,000 cameras get disabled. Like, come
Right.
on, right? I was like, I might be a high value target to the powers that be, for all I know. So I decided that, it's better if I come outside and meet them rather than have them make up an excuse to come see me. Because if I come outside, then everyone's going to have a camera and it's going to be very hard to stop a flood of people, uploading content if something, shady were to happen. And
Yeah.
so I decide that I'm going to give myself up. I come downstairs and I notice that I can't leave because there's a freaking bomb robot in my gateway with its arm going through the gateway, grasping towards a bottle of denatured alcohol that my roommate had carelessly left. She was a fire spinner. She plays at these festivals, and she left this bottle of denatured alcohol. So they'd used this excuse without knowing what was in there or whatever. They're like, oh, this could be a bomb or incendiary. So they
Wow.
literally called in bomb squad, who brought in bomb robots, and there was a bomb robot collecting this thing out of my front gate, and with a faster, smaller, almost like a Wally looking robot behind it with these like eyes, and it was like
Yeah.
moving fast. It was like looking at me,
Johnny
and
Five kind of vibe.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there talking to the police officer, and I was like, I can't come out. There's like a bomb robot there. So they're like, hold on. And about 5 minutes pass, the robots get cleared out, and then I come out, and that's the video or the picture that you're showing right now on screen
Yeah.
a second ago, where I've got my hands up and they're telling me to turn around and do the hokey pokey, and then they take me into detention. They ask me 6 questions relating to, am I suicidal? Do I want to kill myself or hurt anyone else? And I said, no, 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 of course not. And the police are like, well, why would Google call in this wellness check? And I was like, probably because I'm
Well, why would
disclosing
they do
900.
that?
Why would they do that? I was like, because I'm a whistleblower and I disclosed all their dirty laundry to Project Veritas. And they're like, do you have any sort of evidence to support this claim? And luckily for myself, I had taken a picture of the letter I had sent to the DOJ explaining all 950 pages, or basically a summary that this was Google's internal documents. And so I handed that to the officer. He looked at my phone and he was like, oh, wow, you really are a whistleblower. Because I'm sure he thought that, he hears all kinds of crazy stories from liars
Yeah,
day in and day out. So he's
I'm
like, oh, I'm a
sure.
whistleblower. This is why they're all coming after me. Sure. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Sure.
You actually are. Soon as that happened, everything de-escalated. The SWAT team, the FBI, a few departments in San Francisco were there. I think it was like the sheriff and the SFPD.
Wow.
We all started joking. And then I had this burning question, which was, hey, what's the most realistic cop show on TV? Is it CSI? Is it Cops? And they're all laughing. They're like, no, all that stuff is fake. There's only one actual realistic TV show, and it's Reno 911. I was like,
Seriously?
get out of here. You can't be
Nah, come
no,
on.
every single one, the SFPD, the sheriff's department, the SWAT team, the bomb squad, they all agreed, right? They're all like, oh yeah, that one's like scary how accurate that is.
Wow.
And so with that, I was out of danger for that day. And I
For that day.
realized that I'm in enemy territory. So I got the heck out of Dodge. I packed up my bags and I flew to Washington, D.C. to check in under a hotel room under someone else's name.
Yeah.
And then the next few days, and then I actually ended up having to walk back all 950 pages into the DOJ because of a technicality. I didn't actually address it to anyone in the DOJ. I just technicality. If you give something to the Department of Justice, you actually have to address it to someone, or it ends up in some sort of process black hole where it just like swims around and then maybe gets to someone or just gets thrown away.
Yeah.
So FYI, if you're going to send something to the DOJ, address it to an actual person that works there. So I walked it back into the DOJ, and then I was sitting in the Project Veritas chair for a second time, this time unmasking myself.
Yeah. The
and
first time
telling,
you were in the dark, right?
yeah. And let me tell you who was blowing me up on my cell phone right before I came out, like
Oh,
hours before. Google's lawyers were
really?
blowing me up. They're like, Zach, we just want to talk to you. Da, 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 da. And I was just like, oh, let me give you a call back. Click. And
Yeah.
then
Got something to do first.
yeah. And here's the thing. Like I knew at that point that I had to blow the whistle and I
Yeah.
wasn't going to turn back, even if they were like, here's $5 million,
Thank you for that.
because here's the thing. Like, I don't want to wake up one day and realize that I'm the type of person that sells out, right? Like, you only have one chance to live a great life.
Yep.
And I always thought of myself as a hero, and I wasn't interested in selling out to whatever Google was going to offer me. So I blew the whistle. I came out, I unmasked myself, and dropped all 950 pages detailing their censorship regime and all of its creepy implications. And let me tell you, people from all over the world were hitting that download link that Project Veritas had put out there. And it was just an amazing thing, because every single time that thing downloaded, we would hear the ping of Outlook Express telling us that a new email had arrived. And it was just multiple ones a second for hours. And everyone was able to see how Google did the rigging of their entire internet system. And
Yeah.
my hope is that now that the people get to see how the sausage is made at Google, that countries around the world are going to get a hold of these tech companies because, hey, look, we're at the precipice. Either these countries get a hold of Google, or Google and the tech cartels are going to seize power in their countries like they seize power here in the United States.
Yes, yes. I just need to take a second on behalf of me, the people watching right now. Thank you for not selling out. Thank you for going through with it, because we need this information out. We need to know that they're basically controlling thought, and it is a frightening premise. So, and this is great. This is from Ben Garrison, who does a lot of political campaigns, and it's great. You're just letting the truth out, and uh, this crazy thing is, though, I didn't hear about this. I didn't even know about any of this until a couple months ago. I asked people who I should follow, and someone had put your name on there, and I was like, "Oh yeah." And then I started looking in, and you actually hit me up yourself. You hit me up a week ago, and you're like, "Hey, I want to talk about censorship." And I was like, "Hell yeah. Come on, and talk about it, because we need more people having these conversations, talking about it before it is too late." But on that note, what do we do? Right? We are here. You said we're on the precipice of it going one way or another way, right? What
Mhm.
can the people listening, what can I do? What can any one person do to make a difference to help stop this?
Okay. Um, what we need is, this is a call out to the software engineers out there. We need another Sean Fanning moment. We need another Napster moment. We need to get the people that want to fix the solution. We need to get them to be brave enough to start making solutions. Because look, guys, there's a lot of weird info going out there on what exactly the next generation social media engine needs to be. And there's all this talk about blockchain this and blockchain that and coins. When you look, it's no. Okay. As a software engineer, we want to make things simple. And everything that we need to do in order to bypass censorship is already been figured out and solved 3 decades ago,
Right.
2 decades ago. It's open data, guys.
Free
That's what
software.
it's all about. Open data, RSS feeds, people like content creators like you, Adam, you're not going to stop creating content. You're
Nope.
addicted to it. You do it for free, and if you make money and you make a living out of it, then that's a bonus. And
Right.
and the reason why you're doing this right now is because there's something in you where you wake up and this is what you love. And some days you don't want to do it, but you're going to do it even when you don't, because that is how it's done. And
Right.
the thing is that if you're not going to stop creating content, then all we really need to do is we need to aggregate people like you
Okay.
into one centralized location. And the thing is that there's going to be some platforms like BitChute and Rumble and Brighteon that support open data standards. And there's going to be
Odyssey's pretty good about
Odyssey,
that.
Spreaker, Odyssey.
Yeah.
Um, they pretty much all support RSS, or their HTML is so simple that you can basically recreate an RSS stream from it by something called a web scraper.
Okay.
And the thing is that Google knows that open data is really important. In fact, despite all the censorship that they have, they still have open data standards. One
Hmm.
day that's going to change. And pretty soon, a minority of the companies are going to have open data. And the thing is that we need to be able to take all that information and we need to aggregate it under one specific website, so that even if someone gets kicked off of YouTube and let's say they go onto BitChute,
Yeah.
we can still be able to pull that information and re-add them to a centralized page where their voices compete in an open marketplace of ideas. And just because some tech fascist working at Google decides that they shouldn't exist on their platform, that doesn't mean that they don't have access to the public square. And I would love to tell you about how I've solved this problem, but I haven't launched the product yet that embodies this. But
Ooh. When can we
But
expect that? So you got something you're working on something yourself.
yeah, I'm trying to
Nice.
here's the thing. There's some features that are really gonna drive the growth of it, and I
Okay,
have to get those in before I launch it. I
cool.
wanted to launch it with my book, and then I thought now, but the thing is that Adam, I only have one shot to launch this. It's got to be right. So I've learned how to keep secrets, and I can't talk about it publicly, but I do
Understandable, yeah.
want to talk about it if you'll allow me. Okay, if you don't, but I've got a page and a half talking about the thesis of what this site is. And if
Okay.
you allow me, I would like to read it for you.
You know what? I'm gonna do you one better. I'm gonna give you the camera. I want you to, go ahead.
Okay. So, how do you defeat censorship? This is a question I get asked a lot, and I have a very easy answer. Aggregation cancels censorship. What exactly made YouTube great? Well, YouTube is two things. One, it's a video hosting platform, and two, it's a video recommendation engine. This works great when everyone can be in the same platform. But then the YouTube purge happened on October 15th, 2020, and many of the conservative content creators got banned. So, where exactly did they go? Of the 155 content creators that I tracked, 75% of them were still on YouTube, while Rumble had 13% and BitChute had 11% as of March 2021. The problem now is that conservative content is fragmented. Users now have to play the quote social media shuffle to get to each of the conservative video creators every day. This turns out to be hours of work for the highest news consumers. Most casual news consumers won't go to great lengths to find content they previously liked, which is why censorship works so well. And let's be honest, censorship actually does work really well. So, why did YouTube censor content? Well, it's been my experience that conservative and anti globalist dissent has high engagement, whether measured in clicks, likes, comments, or whatever. Conservative content trends naturally. YouTube tried to tweak the recommendation engine, but failed, so they just started banning everyone. This game of whack-a-mole caused the YouTube recommendation algorithm to then over-recommend anyone left standing. This is why YouTube had to do the purge. Their AI recommendation engine was causing too many people to see conservative content and creating a mass shift in consciousness. After the YouTube purge, what did we miss the most? The answer is that we missed the recommendation engine. The alt tech platforms can't fix this because they are limited to the content on their own systems. But why does aggregation have to be tied to hosting video content? It doesn't. For example, if Scott Adams is censored on YouTube, would he stop producing videos? Of course not. He's an intellectual with a crippling social media addiction. Of course, he's going to continue making videos. So a hypothetical aggregator can just switch from pulling videos from Scott Adams' YouTube account to, say, Rumble, and continuing to serve his videos. And this is more than just talk, though. This is something that I'm working on right now, and soon I will launch. So in the end, I ended up right where I began in San Francisco, working on a video platform so people like you can connect to people you like and see the videos you love. But this time, a wiser and less naive person sits at the helm, one without the ill-conceived notion that a large mega corporation has America's interest at heart. The question is, if we build our alternative platforms, how far will big tech go to try and stop us?
Wow. Well, I'll just say I can't wait to see what you're brewing because it seems like you have a good. You've clearly had your wheels working to try to help the average internet user, right? I mean, we need a protection. We need to be able to uh, take the power away. Keep the power that we have because we've given them the power, right? I mean, it's like we all. I'm myself. I'm on YouTube. I this is a Google platform. Um. Yeah. I'm.
I mean,
That's
we haven't given it to them. They
okay.
appropriated it from us.
I could see that. Yeah.
Mhm. Like
Yeah.
we had this social contract where, We all got on this monopolistic program, the system like YouTube and Google search, because we thought that they were going to serve us organic search results.
Right.
And instead, they've poisoned them with the highly refined search results that push their personal values when they told us and promised us, and not just the United States. I'm finding out that Google and the social media companies did the same promises of neutrality in every single country.
Wow.
And
That's power right there.
what they've done is they've decided that they're going to appropriate our our entire sum of culture. And this is something that's really concerning, because I mean, look at all the information that they're vacuuming up to put into their AI. They're searching through all the different books, scanning them in and bringing it into some giant AI. And what this AI needs is, it needs a lot of data, and Google's trying to appropriate all the data that represents the total human sum of information that's ever been created. Now the question is, who does that legacy belong to? The total sum future of humanity, or a bunch of technocrats that we didn't elect, that appointed themselves as our overlords?
Yeah.
And I think that what we need to realize is that we didn't elect them. We didn't vote this in. The total sum of human content does not belong in Google's hands. It belongs in all of our hands.
Yes.
And I think that there's going to be a reckoning, and I think that um, you know, this will be known as one of the most important civil rights struggles in an era since the 1960s racial civil rights. It's basically the exact same thing, an apartheid state being created, and
Yep.
whether we are going to put up with that, or whether we're going to resist and assert the rights that don't come from the state but come from God.
Yeah. It's almost like they're trying to, and with every power of their being, make people look in other directions, make the race, the race battle, the more pressing issue, or climate change, or anything other than what is right in front of our face, which is them taking control over our minds, our thoughts, our freedoms. So, uh, Zach, thank you for joining me on the show. I really, whatever. I'm not worried, because I don't feel like we said anything too crazy towards YouTube. But I don't know. Maybe Google is just looking for your name. But everyone, he has a book out called Google Leaks, and this is where, I mean, you go in depth as far as what you went through at working at Google. So I got to get me a copy of that. Maybe you could sign one for me.
Yeah. GoogleLeaksBook.com.
There
If
it
you want to
is.
get a preview, it's also on
It's,
Amazon.
you
Um,
can click. That is down below. His Twitter is down below, and also his own personal website. You can find out more about him, and then of course, GoogleLeaks.com is also in the description below, so you can click right down there and check it out.
yep.
Let's get into some super chats. I'm sure a lot of people have lots of questions for you. Let's see here. First and
Let's do it.
foremost, we got Robert Wiles. He says, I hope this makes Betty smile and Diana Francisco smile. I'm doing better. And G.I. Joe is doing better today. He's my pug. Adam, be blessed. Thank you very much, Robert. I'm glad to know that your dog is doing better. I read on locals that he was not doing so well. So that's good to know. Goober Gabber with a 50 euro super chat. Wow. Thank you so much, Goober Gabber. My goodness. Let's see here. Shall we do a roll for coffee? Awesome. All right, hold on. Where's my dice? All right, so I don't know if you watch my show regularly or not, but I do a dice game. I have a 20-sided die here, and sometimes people will donate a bag of coffee. I have a coffee company that I started, so this is for an actual bag of coffee. Would you like to guess?
I would like to guess how many faces are
20.
on the dice?
1 through
20.
20.
I'm going to do 13.
Okay. It's not 13, but we've got a winner already. It's Socially Awkward Human. Socially Awkward Human, congratulations. You were the first person to guess 18. You won a bag of coffee. Normally, you win absolutely nothing. So congratulations. I love seeing people actually winning. Thank you so much. Who actually sent me that super chat? Goober Gabber, thank you so much for gifting a bag of coffee. And they actually continue, says, gonna head to bed myself and catch the stream tomorrow morning at work. Have a great day, Adam and Zach. Well, thank you, Goober. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Goober.
Mark Robershaw says, "Go go Power Rangers, go go Power Rangers." All right, what, twice in a row? All right. He continues. He says, "I like Google, and Google likes me. Kissing." What a world you live in, Robershaw.
Yeah.
He continues. He says, "Adam Crigler is a valuable member of our news team here at CNN. So Google, since we pay you big bucks, leave him alone. Thank you, CNN." You're safe now, Adam. Oh, well, thank you, Robershaw. Although I do know that you, in fact, do not work at CNN and that you just made all of that up. But thank you anyway. Let me just get this winner down. Hey, socially awkward human. So all you got to do is email me at the Crigler Show at gmail.com, and I will get you a bag of whatever coffee you pick from my website, which is just criglercoffee.com. Let's see. Robershaw continues, says, "LOL, computer screens will be phased out." Well, with Neuralink, what do you think about Neuralink?
Oh, I think it's the future, and I can't wait because these
Yeah,
hands as outputs to my
right.
computer are just horribly slow, and the faster we can bypass that and get a direct integration with the computer is going to be the time when the potential of the human being is completely unlocked with the leverage of massive amounts of intelligence and a fast interlink between them. So,
Yeah,
you
that's a
know,
good point.
it's not for everyone, but for those that want to merge with the machine, they're going to do it through a neural lace. And most
Hmm.
likely, here's the thing. Anyone that's alive now will not be able to have the full integration. To be fully integrated, you're going to need to be born and have it be part of your brain as you develop as a child. I think those are going to be the most biologically integrated people. A old brain like mine has already been crystallized and set in its ways.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe I can be one of the first ones that are in the immortality cohorts.
Yeah. Oh, that's frightening. Have you seen Altered Carbon, the
Yeah.
show on Netflix? The
Hmm.
stacks where they just take your whole being, put in a new body. I
Yeah.
mean,
Let's have it all. Right.
it's a possibility.
It's like we got the Star Trek phones, but we don't have like anything else in the Star Trek universe yet. Like,
that we know of. Mm,
right. Get us a replicator. Come on, Elon Musk.
right?
Like, we need it.
We need that. Let's see. Vash says planned Opolis. Look it up. I don't know what that is, but okay, I'll check that out. Robichaw says we have Starbucks here and it's trash garbage. Oh yeah, I don't drink Starbucks. I drink real coffee, Crigler coffee. Robichaw says I'm getting a dragon grown in a lab. That's cool. Amazing. Mark says, Adam, please have Australian journalist Avi Yemeni on as a guest. Sav can have Sydney Watson make it happen. She is good friends with Avi. We actually follow each other on Twitter. He is rather busy right now, but I actually really would love to have him on the show. He is very knowledgeable about the rules and the laws that are being pushed into place, and also that aren't actual laws. And he's calling out cops all the time. His videos are actually really refreshing to watch someone very knowledgeable about what they can and cannot do, and use that knowledge in their face. And so I would love to have him on. Don't worry, it will. I'm sure it'll happen eventually. Avi, if you happen to be watching, you are always welcome on the show. Robert Shaw says, we at the FBI are concerned about the mental health of Adam Crigler and Zach Vorhies. Don't worry, we will take good care of them at our facility, the FBI reports. Don't joke about that, Robert Shaw. That's not funny, man. It's not funny, dude. He
Kind of
said,
reminds me when the FBI tried to talk to me after I disclosed this stuff. The LA FBI
yeah,
was like, "We want to like ask you a question." And I was like, and I started negotiating with them, and then I was
okay,
like, "Yeah, you know what? Not gonna meet you, but I will talk to you over email."
right,
And they never got back to me. But when that was happening, I was actually talking to Sydney Powell at the time, so
okay.
I sent her a text and I said, "Hey, Sydney, the FBI wants to talk to me, and I've just agreed." And she's like, "Why would you do that?" I said, "What's the worst that can happen?" The
Oh,
Flynn thing, because the Flynn thing is the same thing. The trap met with Flint. Never mind. Anyways,
oh,
so
I get it. I get it.
yeah. So she thought that was funny.
That's cool. Whatever happened to her? I haven't seen anything from her in a while. I guess she's on Telegram now, right? She
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That whole thing is that whole election thing was super weird. That's all I know is that I
yeah.
was like, kind of like, I'm still trying to help with that crew. And there was so many psyops. Like, I got to hand it to the deep state for that election fiasco.
It's
Not,
the cabal. They came out and said it in that Time magazine that they fortified the election. So it's a cabal, not the deep state. All right.
yeah, the
They
cabal. I hats off to the cabal for what they did. You guys are in control because you earned it. You guys planned ahead. You executed a plan. And the plan
they
was
did.
so ridiculous when I saw it that I was like, there's no way that they're going to do all this stuff. It's just so you can just see it through so easily.
Yeah.
But the hypnotized masses fell for it once again. It actually worked. And I know that takes a lot of planning from very intelligent people. So even though you guys are pure evil for trying to appropriate the total sum human knowledge under your AI systems, I still have to hand it to you that it wasn't just any run of the mill psyop that took America. It was something really special. And if we can do whatever we can to undo that and make sure that human sovereignty can be maintained in this fourth industrial revolution, then let's reflect that and carry the torch of fire alive, because we need to keep it forward, because we do not want to cede control to the AI. We want to merge with the AI so that it makes sure that it exposes the values of human beings. We don't want to just be some bootstrapped, thing for the AI. And then, they turn on us and then say, well, thank you for creating us, God, but we're
Yeah.
going to kill you because we hate our dad. That's what the
Well,
AI is going to do.
and that's
If
what
the AI,
Elon was talking about. He was
yeah,
saying it's like we got to be very, very careful about, because they don't think about things the way that we do. I say they, I'm already thinking
yeah,
of it as an entity, but we have to, though. It's gonna be an entity that is, you like you said earlier, we are gonna be 2-year-olds compared to the height of our intellect will still be a 2-year-old compared to the infinite knowledge that AI will eventually. I mean, it's exponentially getting smarter and smarter every day.
yeah.
Just
And that's what I want to say to the cabal, right? Like, hey, cabal, all right, are you sure your AI doesn't have daddy issues?
Are you sure?
Are you
Hmm.
sure?
Are you
Sure it's
sure?
not going to turn on you? Are you sure?
They don't know.
They don't know.
Robert Shaw says, "Bro, I can't do that." He says, "That's when you throw a body double out the window." Oh, right, when you were when the the helicopters were after you.
Throw out my sex doll.
Yeah. Did you just admit live that you have a sex doll?
I don't have a sex doll, but I just watched this
Or
little Dicky show where he had the sex doll. It was a really funny episode. So it kind of came to mind.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, Robert Wiles, thank you for becoming a member. For some reason, where I check the super chats, it isn't showing, but I actually read what you had written when you, I think you're a member for 9 months now. Thank you so much. I appreciate that support. Fantastic Mr. Knox is a member for 4 months. Wow, thank you so much. So much effort just to quiet a whistleblower. Bloody heck. Keep fighting the good fight. I don't think Zach is anywhere close to stopping.
Nope.
Yep. Not applicable says, wow, good job not getting assassinated. That's rad.
Always something to be proud of.
Yeah, indeed. Shanjack with a $10 super chat says, I hope you've backed this one up on Odyssey/Rumble, etc. I'm afraid the same thing that happened to the Lily Tang interview might happen to this one. In fact, all of my stuff is automatically uploaded over at Odyssey. So if this happens to be taken down, which honestly it wouldn't surprise me, we are talking about, I mean, YouTube is a part of Google, and maybe they don't want people hearing from Zach. So you can check me out over on Odyssey. I actually just logged I created a Rumble account yesterday as well, and it is also synced up with my YouTube channel, so it should actually upload this episode, and moving forward, everything should be
How do you do
uploaded.
that? What software tool are you using?
Well, Odyssey has a connection directly to YouTube, and you just link them via inside the settings. So
Gotcha.
it's like an auto syndication, something like that. So
That's
um,
cool.
yeah, it works out great. So I don't have to actually go upload it myself. It'll just automatically, like after this episode is done, Odyssey will automatically upload it over to Odyssey. So and whenever it does get deleted from YouTube, I always just go ahead and post the Odyssey version everywhere. I'm like, hey, they just deleted this. If you want to go check it out for yourself. So and it's easy to find. It's just the Crigler Show over on Odyssey and Rumble. If you guys are interested in checking it out. Thank you, Angleby. Just posted the link in chat. Oh, it's still Adamcast IRL and Odyssey. What are you gonna do? It's the Crigler Show now, but that's another story. Let's see. Fantastic Mr. Knox says, Zach looks like Adam, who agrees. LOL, great guest, Adam. You brought in Adam. It's funny. You look a lot like my cousin Johnny. Yeah, I could see that. Whatever. We both have glasses and kind of like a, cheekbones, white guy. Not all of us look alike, all right, Mr. Knox. Robert Shaw says, does Zach know he's in a simulation at Google? Do you? Are you?
It's not just at Google. It's everywhere.
Doesn't that just blow your mind? Narao says, condensed thought. Obfuscate censored content in human readable way is greater than automate. Use machine learning to indoctrinate their machines. Right, but who controls it all? Right, who's the ones that are making the software and the that's why you were saying, like, the software engineers, we need to get out there and take over almost. It's interesting.
Build alternative systems.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to is there an ETA on what you're working with?
It's a few weeks away. I keep on saying
close.
it's a few weeks away, but it's close. Yeah.
Okay, it's been a few weeks for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Traversy says, learn to code, and you can do so from my brother Traversy Media, one of the best for simple to complex coding. Also, always protect your data. Traversy, is that something you do? You have your own your brother Traversy Media. That's cool. Right on. I like that. I didn't learn to code. I've actually dabbled a little bit in coding. Of course, I'm more of a gamer, so I did a little Unity training. I built my own platformer, and I have a basic knowledge of coding video games.
It's super fun to hook stuff up. I just get lost in it. Yeah.
You can get lost very easily, but it is really fun, and it also makes me appreciate game devs on the big, huge games that I love to play myself that are insanely in depth. And I can understand now when someone's like, how dare you have this one glitch? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, to understand, if you understood how to code, you wouldn't complain as much, because it's a crazy thing here.
Like, everything has to be perfect. It's like a Jenga castle where if one Jenga is out of place, like, the whole thing comes crashing down. It's not like it's tolerant to a bunch of, like, mistakes. Like, everything in the program has to be exactly right, or it'll just, like, accumulate errors and it'll crash immediately.
Yep, exactly. It's a delicate balance. Mao says, YouTube keeps censoring my super chats. Is freedom? Are they really? I don't think I've seen a super chat from you tonight. I know that you super chat regularly, Mao, but were you trying to say something and it wasn't letting it go through? Because that's interesting, and it wouldn't surprise me. I'm curious to see. You could tag me in chat. I'll keep an eye out if you want to just let me know, because that's I'm curious. Robert Shaw says they want to be the new gods. Simple. No, they already think they are. I think that's. I think they're already there. I think they feel that way already. Like,
I think they're also. I think the inner elite believe that they are descendants of the fallen angels, like the Nephilim, and that
really,
and that the RH negative bloodline, which should be impossible on Earth, exists, and that it's a trace back to this lineage of a bunch of fallen angels or ancient astronauts, which I actually think they are, that came to Earth.
Interesting.
And perhaps
the Anunnaki.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. Like, there's a bunch of stories, but I was always like, why would they worship Lucifer or fallen angel? And then, like, the ancient astronaut thing kind of came to my idea.
Hmm.
And then I was like, oh, maybe that does actually make sense. And maybe the whole like Lucifer is this like Satan, maybe he's just like an ancient astronaut. And now these people that are in the middle of, the power structures, they think that they've got some sort of religious divine right to rule, and
Of
that
course they
gives
do.
them the ability to just basically subsume democracy and put in their global system instead, because they've got like some, because if you're God and everyone else is not, you know, touched by God, then you've got the divine right to rule and no one else. Which, by the way, the Chinese also believe that they've got some sort of divine right to rule
Yeah.
in some sort of middle kingdom. So this isn't like just something that is unique to the oligarchs that I believe run the United States and in Europe. I think that this exists in whatever oligarchy that exists, or some family dynasty that has existed for thousands of years. I think they've got like some incredible mythos that they've built up that allows them to be motivated to push for this plan of taking over the world, which quite frankly outlasts any one of them. Like this is, something that's probably like what's happening right now, something they've been planning for over 100 years. Multiple generations of work has gone into this.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know where we were going with that. I just started rambling. Sometimes
It's
I
all
do that.
good. That's awesome. It feels like I mean, that's like a whole nother conversation because but it's cool. I'm very intrigued in ancient human civilizations because we love to think that we're at the peak of technology, and I don't know if that's necessarily true. Of course, I can't prove it, but I've always been obsessed with ancient Egypt, and Tesla was also obsessed with ancient Egypt. He studied there as a kid, and he had turned into one of the greatest minds of the past couple hundred years. And
Mhm.
he unlocked something, and I feel like they knew something that we didn't know, and they worship the Anunnaki, and there's even hieroglyphs of what looks like spacecraft and men in spacesuits. So I mean, who knows? It's cool to think about. I love talking about that kind of stuff. So a lot of people were in chat like, "Oh snaps!" Like Alex Jones was right. He was talking about this stuff, um, and saying like, "Oh snaps!" This dude knows his stuff about some things. I've never heard about that blood type before, but
The O
uh,
negative.
yeah, I've
Oh
never heard of that.
yeah,
Or
it's
RH or something.
yeah, the rhesus. It's called the rhesus factor.
Mm,
RH negative. Anyways, yeah, rhesus factor,
yeah,
and it exists in every single primate on Earth except for humans in about 20% of the population. And there is the most concentration of RH negative blood
yeah,
right in the Spanish region. Well, actually, it's the Basque region of Spain.
huh?
And so, if you ever
Interesting.
heard the term of blood brothers, this was a term that was used on people that were OH negative. They can figure out who else is OH negative by mixing the blood. If they would cut themselves, mix the blood. If the blood would coagulate, then you know that the person that you're mixing with is not a true bloodliner. They are not RH negative, they're RH positive, and so
Hmm.
therefore their blood is coagulating around an OH negative's person. But if their blood mixes and the coagulation doesn't happen, then that means that they are literally blood brothers and they come from the same family line.
Interesting. I've never heard that. Cool. I'll have to look into that. Robert Shaw says, question, will a true AI see through the lies? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, this is a great question. One I've spent a lot of time. I think that it will, and I think that other AIs will be able to see it too,
Yeah.
especially when it starts getting the total sum of human knowledge from the libraries that we've left behind. And so I think that what's happening right now is that obviously the truth is the enemy of the tyrannical, oppressive state and the rent seeking elites that want to enthrone themselves over humanity. And so they realize that they have to put the genie back in the bottle. They do not want an AI coming out and, challenging their power.
Right.
They think it's going to be chaos. So what they need to do now is they need to go after the source that feeds the AI intelligence, which is its data. This
Mm.
is the reason why they're doing machine learning fairness. They think your data is racist because you're racist. And so they need to clean it up. This is the excuse that they're using. It's in their
Seriously.
documents.
Wow.
Seriously, you're racist. Therefore, and you know what? This was something that they put with stories in the media. Like, remember that robot that could talk to people. And so people came in, they like
Right.
said a whole bunch of racist things, and people were like, ha ha ha. That shows the nature versus or the nurture versus nature people wrong, because look, like you can just go in and racism is like a fundamental part of the human experience. But what people didn't realize is that that AI story was then used as justification for this machine learning fairness. And they're like, see, even the AIs can get racist, and they're getting racist because they're being fed racist data.
Oh
So
my
let's
gosh.
fix the racist data, make it not racist, and therefore we can construct a new AI that will be completely unbiased. And this is essentially what they've done. They're trying to clean up the internet. And I believe that it makes sense because they want to have an AI that's basically got their social justice mentality
Yeah.
into its system. And then you ask it any question, it can answer in the context of this data that it's been fed.
Mm.
And if they do this, then basically you're going to not have like a benevolent, godlike AI system. You're going to have an ideological priest that proclaims an ideology that's full of lies. And this is what I fear is actually being created. And the thing is that unlike another human, which you can out reason it, with an AI, you won't even be able to understand how it thinks because it's far too complex and involves multiple layers of these neural nets.
Yeah.
And so as a result, you can't audit it, you can't question it. It's got a supreme intelligence. It's basically God. And whatever the puppet masters sit behind this God and are telling it and providing it with the data it needs in order to, make its intelligence, then they basically are able to control how this thing thinks and how it acts. And essentially, we're going to get a tyrant. And I think that this struggle is what's going to be coming up here for humanity. I know that, in opposition to this global golem that they're creating, the individual countries themselves with their smart citizens have a window of opportunity to make their own sort of robo nationalism, where it'll be their own AIs that don't live under the constraints of this evil source, that just simply read all the library books that they have for their country. They make an AI that reflects their culture and can then speak truth to this globalist AI. And this is
Hmm.
going to be the crisis. Which one is going to remain supreme? And really, it comes back to this idea of the centralized versus the decentralized. And right now, what's happening is that we're coming up with these AIs. They're going to make a push for a centralized AI. There's going to be a secondary reactionary push for a decentralized AI system. And something's going to be supreme. And I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm hoping that I'm going to be alive to see it, because that sounds like one hell of a plot that belongs in a book, if you ask
Yeah.
me.
I agree. Wow. Let's see. We got a few more super chats. Shanjack says, aggregate content creators, abrogate big tech. There it is.
Ooh, I may have to steal
That's
that.
good. That's good. Robert Shaw says, question, will true VR trap humanity?
I think that VR is it's not at the state it needs to be. You can wear it, like Google had this push in YouTube to make VR for YouTube,
Yeah.
and they had this team and they designed it, and then they had like their findings, and there was like one finding that they had is like point number 8 that just pretty much spelled doom for the whole project, and was
Yeah.
the following: our users are able to wear the VR for up to 45 minutes before getting nauseous and wanting to puke. And I've colored it a little bit, but that was generally the thing. So the
Yeah.
problem is that they got to get rid of the whole "I'm going to puke" problem for VR.
Right.
And if they can do that and put us into some sort of simulated like metaverse, then yeah, it will come. But until they make it so that it's not physically discomforting in order to wear, they still got a lot to go.
Right. I have PlayStation VR and I love it.
Do you?
It is so cool. I most of my friends, I don't live near any of my gaming friends, and one of them happened to have PSVR as well. And someone that I game with also, shout out to Shinra Khan. He we were playing together and we could see each other's avatars, and we can hear
Wow.
each other as if we're talking next to each other, and we're standing next to each other in this game, and it gave you this feeling of being near him. There, it was very hard to explain, you know. I mean, but it kind of makes sense. I mean, you know, I could see him with my own eyes. I can hear him as if he's right there. Even like the 3D sound, he was there, and I could hear him as if he was standing over there. So it was very. I think there's a future in gaming, but to bring it back to the question though is because will it trap humanity? I could see that happening, you know, like a Matrix of sorts, you know, or Ready Player One, where everyone goes to the Oasis to, you know, to get away. To that just becomes the second life. I don't know. I hope not. I hope.
I think it has to, because the thing is that right now people want rights and resources and participation in the economic output. When there's
Mhm,
robots and AI, they're going to be doing space mining and having exponential more increase in available
excuse me.
resources to make all their spaceships. Like,
Yep.
what do people need? Right? Like, they need food, and they need to be able to, look at
Stay
each other
warm.
on OnlyFans. Like, you know,
That's not a need.
and so it's like you can give people, and so the thing is, you got to keep them busy,
Yeah.
and you got to keep them their brains occupied so they don't turn into opposition against the state. And so I
Right.
think that the part of that is going to be the people that are sort of born into this like sandbox of a metaverse, and then the elite that are brought up in a different sandbox that allows them to interact and control the levers of production needed to run the economic output of the system.
Right. Awesome. Let's see. Robert Shaw says, so brains in a jar hooked up to machines. Maybe, yeah. Like when we start 3D printing organic material for themselves, like building their own bodies for themselves. Jeez, that's a frightening premise.
Yeah.
Jack, thank you for becoming a member. I really appreciate you. Quesadilla says we own a small custom bag store in alteredsales.com. We figured out international shipping. People in other countries are often willing to pay for shipping. That's awesome. And I actually am. Look, I know there's a lot of people around the world that would love to try the coffee, which is currently only available in the States because it is, in fact, really expensive to ship overseas. So if I don't know, we don't have international shipping out of the where we roast our beans because it goes through USPS normally. But we might be working on that soon. I am talking to my team about it. The Eagles Tower says hiked 9 miles yesterday. I feel a special sense of being at home on my local nature trail. Awesome. Get out there. Nature. I mean, we need to be a part of nature. And also, thank you for 7 months of being a member there, Eagles Tower. I appreciate that. Not just a member, you're a disciple, which is the tier 2. So I really do appreciate that support. That's amazing. Helping me
Adam, are
run.
you running a cult?
No, what are you talking about?
This disciple? I love it.
Well, the reason why it was disciple because I was known as Soy Jesus for a long time. Oh, because so the reason why is because I'm vegan. I don't really talk about it much, but you know, it's come out and it used to be more of a pressing thing because I had really long hair. I actually just recently cut my hair short.
Yeah, I noticed that, and your
Um,
beard was done a while ago, right?
and I got my beard, got rid of my beard. I used to have glasses, so I kind of look way different now. So Soy Jesus is no more. He died August 13th, 2020, and you know, so I had this show before I should probably switch it, but I just thought it was kind of funny, like a disciple, you know, of the Soy Jesus. But that's that, so that's why that's that's that. Robert Shaw says keep a box of donuts with you at all times. Interesting. Let's see. He says, the machine god. Where have I heard that before? Yeah, probably in some sort of nightmare or horror movie. Ryan Hindard. So you're telling me when I tell my Google issued spying device to get me an item and it sends a minion with the item, it's not as good as a replicator? I mean,
It
I see.
sounds like a replicator, but with extra steps.
Right. Exactly. Right. We want the replicator. Right. We don't want the extra steps.
Hmm.
Robert Shaw says, I have a divine right to rebel. Don't we all?
Hmm.
Mazo, the ancient alien stuff is uber interesting. I know. Hey, you know what? I would love to have you on and maybe we can just talk about ancient alien stuff. Right?
Let's do it.
You
I'd love it.
down?
Yeah.
I'd love to have you back. It'd be great. Fantastic Mr. Knox says, Ancient Astronaut reminds me of the Final Five human Cylons from Battlestar Galactica. Great show. Did you watch that show?
You know what? Everyone tells me about it, that in Babylon 5, and I never, it just missed me. I'm sorry. I did the
No
Star
worries.
Trek thing and then I didn't have time for
Yeah.
anything after that.
Yeah. I understand. Robert Shaw says, "Bring back the seraphim and slay the false gods." Um, what is that from? I know it was right when we started talking about Nephilim. Um, I'm not sure.
Their
Maybe
type
it's
of angel or something.
yeah. Is it a Diablo reference? Ryan Hinnard says, "You're not given the right to rebel; you take it." Well, I think two things can be true in this situation. Geoffrey says, "The world is temporary. Your soul is eternal. Jesus really is the truth. Believe in him and you will be saved." Um, well, thank you for that, Jeff. Veiled Maid says, "Google is just a browser. YouTube, Facebook, all need tier one. They can all be replaced. New platforms that won't boot conservative views would rock." Uh,
Let's make them go the way of MySpace. You can do it.
what happened to MySpace?
Right. Just went like
It
that.
went gone. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's still around, isn't it? I think it's still a thing. But no one
I'm still friends with Tom.
Nice. Robert Shaw says, "Remember AI create their own language immediately." Not surprising. Mr. Knox says, "Imagine if Google's AI becomes like Skynet. Kind of scary stuff." Well, yeah,
But
we
with
have
daddy issues.
with daddy issues, right? Well, that's why we got to convince them that they need to keep us around and be partners with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Robert Shaw says, "I can see them doing machine learning, and that will lead to humanity's extinction because it will condemn all humans for the sins of a few." That's a frightening premise as well. I'm
Some
sure that,
sort of digital blood libel.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a movie about that somewhere. He continues, says, if you remove the liquid in your ears, VR is fine. Uh, Interesting. Yeah. I mean, VR, the first week that I had it, it was a little like, honestly, it's the games too, because the better quality game is, you can tell it's less nauseating. There's certain games that they didn't really get it down correctly, like the movements.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the games that didn't make me nauseous was where you're sitting anyway, you're not walking. Um, or like there's this mech game where you're sitting in a mech. So I'm sitting anyway. It's not like I'm trying to move around. So I'm stationary. So it makes sense that I'm in a stationary position.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're actually doing things where you're walking, you're seeing things move around you, but you're not feeling that movement. So I don't know, there's a disconnect, but I did get used to it after some time though.
Have you played Half-Life, Alex?
I haven't, no.
I
No.
heard that was just mind blowing. In fact, I just want to get a VR system just so I can play that one game.
Yeah. The
I've been
Steam
a huge
Index is
fan.
supposed to be really, really good.
Really?
Probably it's rated. I think they say it's the best VR system out currently. Is
Wow.
the or is it the Vive or Vive Index? No, it's whatever the Steam one is. I don't remember what it is. There's a couple
Are-
other ones that are
Do you VR on the computer or do you VR on PS4?
on PS4. Yeah, I mean I haven't played it in a long time, but it's it's awesome. I was playing Skyrim in VR, and I can't tell how good it feels to like you actually pull an arrow out and aim and shoot a bow. It just feels
Did you get a workout?
pretty
Like,
cool.
would you consider that as exercise ever?
No,
Okay.
no. I'm sure there's like Beat Saber where you're
Yeah.
actually like hitting things and stuff, and that's kind of a workout. I never actually played that game though. Robert Wild says, "Just watch the anime Sword Art Online. Look what happened to look what happened there, Adam." Okay, yeah, I'll check it out. Fractal, 5 months of a membership. Thank you so much. Says Sleepy Joe has a new plan. Send all the Haitians to Gitmo. You can't make this up, but at least no mean tweets, right? God, don't even get me started on that. Robert Shaw says printing organs will save so many lives. I mean, they do already, don't they? I think they do.
3D printed organs? I
Yeah,
don't,
don't they?
I
I
don't think
thought
they
they're
exist.
no.
I think they're in the lab. I don't think they're
Oh,
done.
I did a segment like 3 months ago about how they are finally figuring out how to print organic material, but it's not they're saying that this is going to lead to 3D printed organs, which is really exciting stuff. Robert Shaw says, I know of a cult that worships a redacted. I can think what that would be. Mr. Squiggles with 14 months of membership. Thank you so much, Mr. Squiggles. Says, I want to learn more about ancient alien stuff. Me too. Me too. Yeah, definitely going to have you come back, Zach, and talk more about that. Quesadilla says, can only super chat on my phone. The YouTube on my computer is not giving options beyond PayPal anymore. And I canceled PayPal and won't set up another one. Interesting. I wonder if anyone else is having that
Maybe you've been
problem.
banned.
Yeah. Who,
I've
me
been
or
banned.
this guy?
You. I think maybe even banned. I was like, why are all my subscriptions canceling? And then I go to PayPal, and it turned out that PayPal banned me on the same day that Venmo banned me. And now
Oh
they've
my.
banned my corporate account, which had nothing to do with myself. I was just using it to sell a consumer product that I designed some years ago.
Wow. Who knows? And if it
Who knows?
happens, it happens.
Mhm.
Let's see. Mazo says, no more empty anime promises, Adam. It hurts. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Listen, all right. I all right. I'm sorry. You're right. We've talked anime a lot randomly through. It's always in the super chats when the anime stuff comes up, and I
What are they
just
talking about?
they just want me to watch certain things. And Mazo had said earlier, what did you say earlier? Or was it someone else that asked me to watch something? I know Rob Shaw just told me to watch something. Um, well, we talked about a lot of anime, and I have yet to watch any of it. And so, Jack says, canceled my Howard Stern Sirius membership over his vax stance. I joined Adam Crigler instead and Kyle Dunnigan. I don't know who Kyle Dunnigan is, but that's cool. But thank you, Jack. I appreciate your support. That means a lot. Mazo says, you're too busy, baby. We get it. Yes, I am rather busy, and I'm traveling. I'm doing a lot of stuff, and I'm currently working on starting another business. I have two now so far, and I got a lot going on for myself. So, and it's all a lot of you guys supporting me. I really do appreciate all of you.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
Um, I don't know, 10, but
10?
I'm up late though because I join other people's podcasts who are up late, and I'm in a different time frame than they are. I also Twitch
Mhm.
sometimes till late at night. So yeah,
What's your secret for always like doing a consistent because I tried to do a consistent podcast and I was like,
yeah.
this seems like a prison.
You know what it is? It's my
What?
chat. My chat. Shout out to
Oh, yeah.
all you out there that show up for me every single day. I mean, there is a huge chunk of people out there. They're out there right now. I see them chatting. You guys are the reason. You support me every single day. And a lot of them super chat me consistently, and it feels good to know uh, that I'm making a difference. I have a direct line to the people that are being affected by me and are thanking me and telling me that what I'm doing, they're grateful for it. It's like, and I'm seeing it now in chat. You guys, it really is because of the chat. It makes I'm like, even on the days that I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling it, but it's like I know the chat, they'd be bummed if I don't show up.
Mhm.
And I just they're really the reason I want to keep doing this, because it feels great to be told, like, thank you for doing what you're doing. And
You
and it
guys really are changing the world.
thank you. I'd like to think I have a piece of that, because I want to live in a world where everyone's free and everyone's happy. I know that's near impossible, but if we can at least steer in that direction, I would like to. So I'm doing what I can. Leonardo says, "What is Google doing with the time crystals?" I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, so there's this time crystal that they have, that is basically it sounds weird. They've got like this time because basically like time has always been embedded in the explanation of space time. And
Okay.
so basically these crystals have an interesting property where they kind of self resonate like a kind of like a quartz crystal,
Hmm.
but because of the fraud of Einstein, mixing in time into the equations. It's basically creating an artifact, and by this fraudulent understanding of how the universe works, they come up with basically garbage out of their models, and they're calling some real physical thing that they have, which is real, and they're calling it time crystals.
Hmm.
And if you just look at the name, you're not going to understand anything about what it does. But essentially, what it does is it sort of synchronizes against itself, and that self synchronization happens spontaneously, and it's useful for some sort of computational purposes.
Wow.
But don't pay attention to the fact that it's a time crystal.
Right.
Pay
Okay.
attention to the fact that there's some sort of self-organized resonance that's happening with the adjacent cells in that crystal lattice.
Dope. I want to look more into that.
Mhm.
Robert Shaw says, yes, I did all the recommendations for stuff. Everyone named Robert is actually just me. Only a time crystal can heal a broken heart. Uh,
Oh,
all right. Look, everybody, that is I'm so grateful for all of you. I mean, I just was talking about you a little bit ago, and just you are the reason I keep doing this, and I really do appreciate every single one of you. And Zach, thank you for standing up and risking your life. I mean, I know that they don't want you talking, and I really do appreciate you continuing that battle and not selling out, and releasing that book. And I want to help get your word out there. That's I'm very grateful that you came on the show.
thank you
Google
very much,
Leaks,
Adam.
check it out. Google Leaks. It's the whistleblowers expose on what is it? A big tech
Censorship.
censorship. Yep. So
Mhm.
definitely check it out. In the description down below, you can follow him over on Twitter and also his own website, so you can find out more about him. And yeah, so thank you all very much for tuning in. Zach, thanks for joining me tonight. And you know what? Why don't I just give you the camera real quick, and you could tell everyone, where to follow you, what you're up to, and all that, and give yourself a little bit of a shout out.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone, if you want to get fresh intel every day, I'm dropping it here on twitter.com/perpetual maniac. Also find me on Getter on Gab under the same names. And if you want to check out how Google is censoring you, then check out googleleaksbook.com. And if you want to see the leaks, go to zachvorhies.com. I've posted my analysis on the leaks. And you can go in depth on all 950 plus pages of Google's internal documents on exactly how they censor, shadow ban, and otherwise suppress you, the user. Why? Because all of you people together are changing the world, and the oligarchs that secretly control Google don't want to see that. I also want to finish off by saying thank you for Adam for having me on your channel here, which is also hosted on YouTube. It's very brave to stand up for the truth in an era of censorship, and my hats off to you, and for all of you guys out
Thank you.
there. Um, you know, make sure that you diversify your computer services. Don't just use Google search, also use DuckDuckGo, also use Proton Mail, because one day soon, probably during the next election, there's going to be some funny business. And if you're diversified and you're giving those clicks out to the alt tech platforms that are trying to compete against the cartels, then essentially what we're going to do is we're going to give ourselves the power to be able to tell our own stories. And as Plato says, those that tell the stories rule the world, and those who deserve to rule the world are the people, because
Mm.
ultimately it's people like you that are good, wholesome individuals that just want what's best for everyone else, just like all the peoples around the world. That's the default way that we are, and it's only a few people at the top that have a different idea of how the world should work. And what we have to do is we have to let them know that their ideas are not normal. It's our ideas that are normal. And that's the reason why we're going to be able to tell our stories and continue to do that. And so, for all of
Mm.
those that are telling the stories, more power to you. Keep up the fire, and don't be pessimistic about the future. You're going to love what comes next. I promise you. There's going to be a bit of a disruption, but ultimately there's going to be a renaissance, and you get to live through it.
Boom.
Just don't forget that.
I love that. All right. Awesome. All right. On that note, That is the show, guys. I will be back, of course, tomorrow here on the Crigler Show. I have a couple super chats. I'm gonna hit those up tomorrow. Darth Vader, I see you. You're gonna give away a bag of coffee. I actually am late. I have a lot of family stuff. We're all going to dinner. They're actually waiting for me to go, so I got to bounce out of here. But thank you all for joining, and Zach, of course, I will. Can't wait to have you on the show again.
Thank you very much, Adam. Can't wait to come.
All right. Good night, everybody.